So good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is our deep dive for special needs parenting. I am so thrilled to introduce our guest, Dr. Maxine Murray. Dr. Maxine Murray has been practicing as a pediatrician for the past 36 years. She is highly regarded by her patients and their parents for her kind, person-centric approach. She obtained her doctorate of medicine from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. Then she completed her pediatric residency at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center and pursued further education in adolescent medicine at UCLA. As a lifelong learner, she opted to gain yet another degree in homeopathic medicine. Dr. Murray is passionate about using homeopathic medicine to uproot chronic illnesses in children. Welcome, Dr. Murray. It is a pleasure to have you here. We thank you so much for taking out time to speak to the parents of special needs children, and I welcome you today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Um,
I
so I'm
appreciate you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump into the first question. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and we are so fortunate to have you speak to the special needs moms and dads watching. So, first, how can parents effectively advocate for their children's medical and therapeutic needs within the healthcare system?
And what basically, I have a team of other colleagues and other specialties. So it's not just me alone when I do see a kid with special needs. And basically, we have to look at what is the child, what does the child have in terms of diagnosis? Is it ADHD? Is it autism? Is it pandas? Is it anxiety or depression? And so the parents have to understand the specific needs that the child needs. Do they need therapy, medication, other services, maybe other specialties, neurologists? It's not just the pediatrician. So when they go to the pediatrician, it has to be a team that will decide, where does this patient need to go? Do they need OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy? Maybe they need to go to a clinic that diagnoses autism. So, or even speech therapy. So between the doctor and the mom and the patient, sometimes we have to decide what's the next step in terms of making a diagnosis or just getting therapy to see which way we should go. So it's basically building a healthcare team. And the team will be the mom, sometimes the dad, grandparents, and of course, other specialties.
Mhm.
So, got to build a health like a healthcare family. Then you have to investigate what resources do we have in the community, because not every community has all these factors like PT, physical therapy, speech. So you may have to go outside your community to get this intervention into the child's needs. So once you have that, your pediatrician or your family doctor can make a referral and get things rolling in terms of getting the therapy. And it may take some time because since COVID, people are still catching up. And so you have to be patient. And if you find that you're still not getting the help you need, you may have to go outside the box, maybe try alternative therapy. There's one called craniosacral therapy that sometimes help patients go into the right direction of getting a cure. So think outside the box, maybe even an acupuncturist. They don't always have to use needles. Sometimes they use pressure points.
Mhm.
Chiropractor is another intervention, but you should find one that gears towards children, not just adults.
Mhm.
So sometimes we have to think outside the box.
Mhm. Yeah, very good. So really the most effective way for parents to advocate for their children is to embrace the collaborative, multidisciplinary approach of different professionals, collaboratively communicating with everybody, researching, asking for the right referrals, and then even thinking outside of those resources and looking towards things like alternative medicine, acupressure, and understanding what other methodologies could be helpful.
And of course, homeopathy, which is one. And also know your rights. You know, there's certain regulations that we don't understand. There are certain companies like the American Disability Act. There is the Disability Education Act. So sometimes they can get financial help with these things if insurance cannot help them, because you got to know the insurance, because some insurance may not cover a certain amount of speech therapy or PTOT. So when you are trying to find an insurance, make sure the insurance does have those abilities to cover those different therapeutic interventions.
Right. Yeah.
And you hate to pick an insurance that it turns out, no, we don't cover speech therapy. If we do, only cover if you for diagnosis, but we may not cover you actually getting a therapy. You may have to pay out of pocket. So when your employer offers insurance, make sure you pick the one that will cover these interventions.
Yeah.
So know your insurance and document everything. Have a book where you write down everything. It's nice that you can, when you go to the specialist, you can say, oh yes, this is what my child is doing. Speech, OT, PT. This is the doctor that they see. So write things. This is the appointment that they have. So write down everything. Have a book that you can write down everything that your child is going through.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I really like that, Dr. Maxine, writing everything down, because sometimes parents can't make the connections, but if they state their observations and they present the impressions and just day by day what a child went through, maybe the professional is able to make the connections and state what was the cause, what was the effect, and really help them to get to the solution.
Yes. What is the etiology? What this is what happened, and this is the result. What happened afterwards? And of course, utilizing technology. Technology can be awesome. Especially with your phone, you can document everything easy. You may not have the ability to write everything down, but using your technology, your computer, and document everything.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think you've given parents a lot of great strategies on how to advocate for their child's medical and therapeutic needs. I want to ask you another question. Are there specific wellness practices or activities that you recommend for special needs families to promote an overall well-being?
You mean in terms of the child?
Yes.
Well, definitely exercise. Get your child outside when the weather permits, and just run around with them. That is so helpful. I'd say vitamin D, sunshine is very helpful for a child. It helps their immune system. It gets that energy out of them so they can have the ability to sit down. So go outside, play with them, have activity with them. Another thing is have a safe space in your home where they can, just go when they're upset, whether it's their bedroom or a playroom, depends on how big your apartment is. Have a place where they feel safe, where if things get too much for them, they can go there and just basically cool down. Another thing is make sure you encourage independence, whether it's tying their shoelace or writing their names. Encourage that and give them credit for trying. They don't have to be successful. Give them credit for at least trying to develop that skill.
Yeah. Excellent. So really in promoting wellness practices for special needs children and their families, you first of all recommend physical activity, outdoors if possible, right? That kids get outdoors, that they exercise, that they run and play. And it's nice because it's a collective activity. The whole family could participate in throwing catch, right? Playing catch, throwing a ball, kicking a soccer ball around. Even if it's the town or the city playground, right? It's a nice
Yes,
option for the child and the family just to be outdoors and moving around. It's very important for them. You also suggest modifying the home so that there's like a cozy space for children.
hmm
And we all recognize the struggles of tantrums and meltdowns. So it could be a place where a child feels very comfortable in order to self-regulate and get calm again.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And having them have positive relationships, whether it's another child at the daycare or children at the school, have them have friendship, or maybe a child around the neighborhood. Kids tend to foster better coping skills when they have a friend.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be many friends. It could be just one friend, that they can talk to, that they can play with.
Yeah. And so that peer interaction is very important because oftentimes children learn more or better from their peer, right, than an adult. So
Right,
peer interactions are helpful for socialization, and overall development. And that kind of goes hand in hand with your other point about independence. And so you
right,
suggest that parents offer opportunities of independence at the child's level.
right. They
So
also learn to share too.
correct. They learn to
Right.
share within those peer interactions. And independence at their level, just goes along with developmentally where they are. So smaller children may be able to pick up their clothes by themselves.
Mhm.
And then as they get older, yeah, tie their shoe, pour their own cereal, and really give them independence at the level that
Right.
they're at.
Sometimes they can even make a meal from themselves, as they learn how to negotiate using a fork and knife, or, they learn to make their own meals, and it helps them build confidence. And that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And most importantly, you suggest that parents really give positive reinforcement and some praise for even the smallest of accomplishments.
Right. And even just for them to try. Not even they may not accomplish it, but at least they did try. So that's the
Right.
more important thing. Sometimes we give praise for that they were successful, but to me, at least they tried.
Right.
So that's
Absolutely. And I'll say as a clinician, I do recognize that children with with developmental delays um, are just right not meeting milestones fast enough, right? They might be on track, but just at a slower rate. And so when a child walks in to my office and they don't even greet and they don't have eye contact, but in 6 weeks or 2 months, they have eye contact and they're waving, it's a small accomplishment, but it's definitely worth acknowledging. And it's something huge when we talk about socialization and engagement and connectedness. So the smallest things matter.
definitely. And also allow them to make decisions that will promote their growth. So it may be something small. It may be, what shoes do you want to wear? Do you want to wear this shoes or that shoes? What socks do you want to wear? Do you want to wear these pair of socks, or so let them make some decisions that depend on their age. That helps them too. Sometimes we push kids into, yeah, you have to wear these shoes today. Well, maybe just help them to, let them decide, between wearing the boots today or wearing a pair of sneakers. So, and that builds confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to make it.
I love that point. I love that example. And oftentimes when kids get to me and we work on higher level skills like inferencing and problem solving, it can be very hard for them, especially when they've never had an opportunity to try in real life. Like I want to wear my black sneakers instead of my white sneakers, or I want to wear pink socks instead of purple. Those little small opportunities for autonomy make a big difference and help them when we read a narrative and they have to solve the problem. Parents, yeah, have to understand that all those little trials make a big difference.
right? And
Yeah,
the parents can also model their resilience, how they can show them, how do I cope with stress on the
yeah,
job? Kids look at that because, kids look up to their parents. So for parents, is shouting and screaming, of course, the child's going to take that away versus a parent who's modeling, this is the way I manage stress. Maybe before I answer that person who's, making me angry, I take a deep breath, you know, do some meditation, um, do some yoga, and kids will model that versus the screaming and the shouting.
right.
So,
And so you brought me to my third question, which is really important. So, what are some ways, Dr. Maxine, that parents can build resilience and emotional regulation in their children, particularly those facing developmental or medical challenges?
well, play therapy is very helpful for that too. And whether it's with a specialist or the parent, getting down onto their level can help them build resilience. And it doesn't have to be a board game. It could just be a pretend game, playing with different blocks or even puzzles. That helps them build resilience by just because you have to get down to their level. You can't tell them here, read this book on how to cope with stress. With children, you have to go by their age and where they're at in terms of their developmental milestones. So play therapy is a way that kids can build resilience. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's a specialist or it's the parents. Having positive relationship, even as with another family member or a therapist, having a positive relationship, and especially adult relationships is another way of building resilience. Like we go back to having a team of people that will help your child. Basically, it takes a village to
Mhm.
raise children nowadays, and whether it's church or seeing a specialist who basically is trying to help your child, but having a church, and not everyone is, believes in Christ, but if you do, I found that church it was very helpful for my family. Everybody's different, but having a church family is very helpful.
Right. Yeah. So, so really, building resilience in children. One, you recommend the play therapy that and whether it's a licensed social worker, mental health counselor, or even the parent, somebody who's going to get down to the level of the child and step by step pull them through and help them, right? By modeling, prompting, coaching, and giving that direct instruction and attention really is going to help them to develop the strategies that they need to build endurance, right? And resilience.
Endurance, yeah.
Yeah,
And of course, we go back to nutrition, you
right.
know, can't forget trying to, in terms of healthy eating, vegetables,
Yes,
um, cutting down on the juice, more
right,
water,
right.
and look at things that may trigger them. People don't realize that sometimes dairy, for some, not for all kids, but dairy can be a triggering factor for unhealthy gut for some kids. Gluten is another thing we should think about. And I'm not
Yes,
saying everybody should go gluten free, but maybe you want to maybe do a trial of maybe a couple weeks going dairy free. I wouldn't do everything at once because then you won't know which one actually works.
right.
Going dairy free. There's so many alternative milk which they didn't have when my kids were little, and of
Yeah,
course looking at different foods like allergenic foods, and that's where it goes back to writing things down because you can say, hey, when he drank milk, this is what happened. you
right.
know Keep a diary. So
Absolutely.
certain foods can be a trigger for some kids.
Absolutely. Evaluating that diet and really being able to present a food option and watch how the child reacts to everything that they're consuming is really helpful in their development. I don't want to skip over what you said about community because in the group that I've developed, we stress community a lot and how important it is for the families of special needs children to find community. First of all, that multidisciplinary team that you spoke about, as well as friends and family who understand and support. Sometimes the special needs mom or dad or both have to educate their family members on the diagnosis, have to help them to understand this is what my child is doing, this is how they present, this is what they're going through, this is how we manage. And then the larger than that, I would say the actual community to get into support groups, right? Of
Yes.
moms with special needs children, fathers with special needs children, and all that, so that there's some compassion and commiseration about what's going on. We're all going through this together. I'm not the only one. These emotions that I have, other people are feeling them too. You know, I'm not alone in this. It's really important. It's really important for the parent to fortify the parent, which then the child sees that,
Yes.
experiences that, and can imitate that also.
Right. And it's important for the parent to take care of,
Yes.
whether it's taking a few hours a day to just unwind. If you can find a friend, a neighbor, or a family member that can watch your child for a few hours, it's important that you get the care that you need so that you could be strong for your child. And that does build resilience in the child when they see mom or dad, just take care of themselves. That's important.
Yeah, it's a healthy habit that children will see, and it just
Yes.
yields positive results for everybody. And so, Dr. Maxine, we know that you are a lifelong learner, that really you've been able to keep up with your regular practice, your medical knowledge, but then you've also recognized the importance of holistic homeopathic treatments, and has how as a whole person, there are alternatives that are helping children. So could you speak any on and share your thoughts on combining prescription medication and holistic treatments for care management of children with autism? Because some parents just want another option. They want a gentle option, and they want to know what else they can do.
So homeopathy is something I discovered 4 years ago during COVID. I was able to engage in Zoom meetings because I live in North Carolina. There are no schools in North Carolina for homeopathy, but because of COVID and the Zoom meetings, I was able to study homeopathy. And for me, homeopathy is a gentle, non-addictive, minimum side effects that will help your child. It doesn't cure autism or ADHD, but it can definitely help with uprooting certain things to help the child to be able to respond to the allopathic medicine. And a good thing is that it doesn't interfere with allopathic medicine. It can be used alongside allopathic medicine because it is a slow, gentle healing. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it can take a year, sometimes it can take 2 years, but it can be along with the other allopathic medicine that can be used.
Right.
It's just trying to find the right homeopathic doctor. I'm not saying I'm not the right one. I'm still learning. And the good thing is that my patients and parents feel comfortable to help me learn and to help me prescribe medications for them that they can use alongside. And hopefully, maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, they'll see maybe improvement in 8 weeks, but sometimes it may just take time because allopathic medicine can have certain side effects. So we want to make sure that we try to engage in other things that have minimum side effects or no side effects.
Right. And when you say allopathic medicine, you mean prescription medication,
I'm
traditional?
sorry. Yes. So I'm sorry. Allopathic medicine is prescription medicine. That's what I was trained to practice 36 years ago.
Right.
That's
Right.
allopathic medicine. Holistic medicine includes homeopathy, herbal, craniosacral therapy, naturopathic medicine. So it's under that heading. So yeah, I do allopathic medicine and holistic medicine. It's in two different categories. And
Right.
homeopathy is not, a lot of people get it confused with herbal medicine. It is not herbal medicine. It's completely different from herbal medicine. They do use herbs and plants and minerals to make homeopathic medicine, but they're totally different.
Right. And so if there are any moms or dads, families watching now who are interested, who want another option, are there any, can you direct us towards any website or any resource? How could they get
Oh,
started?
definitely. There is a website called the National Center for Homeopathy, which actually will have the different remedies. And sometimes they'll also have a list of homeopathic doctors in their area. So the NCH, that would be the first place I will look.
Yeah, that's great. The NCH, is it .org?
If they just put in National Center or Homeopathy, it will pop up.
Okay, great. And so parents can go there to read up, get started on researching and get
Yes,
enlightened so that they know how to make a decision.
right. And they can actually gain knowledge of what other the specialties in their area. So
And
Northeast and West do have a lot of homeopathic doctors. The South is a little different. So, but definitely they will be able to find a list of and homeopathic doctors in their area
in these United States.
in these United
Yeah,
States.
I think that sounds great. We're just about at time. Dr. Maxine, this was wonderful. I thank you so much for coming on and teaching us about healthcare, advocacy for children with special needs, and your new passion, homeopathic medicine. And so this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I thank you very much. I
Mhm.
feel what you're doing for everyone is a godsend.
Thank you. Thank you kindly. Take care. And it was very nice to talk with you today.
You too.